Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. Hope you're having a great start to your day. We sure appreciate you guys coming on. And we might even say hello to a few folks here as they get their notifications. Okay. Let me see. Was that Brahim number one and Mike number two, or was that the other way around? I got distracted for a second. Evangeline, Cape Breton, right at the top. Janice, how are you? Sandy from Minnesota. Carol from West Virginia. Jude from Troy, New York. Cheryl, how is ya? Maria, Ottawa. And Gary from Bolton. Donna from Park Hill. Yolande, bonjour. Fran, Orangeville. Madeleine, Kippawa, Quebec. And I think that was Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Sharon, Kansas. Kevin, Oshawa. Vera, Newfoundland. Elaine, Newfoundland. Teresa, Alberta, Calgary. John, Wyoming. Dorothy, PEI. David, Ridgeway, good morning. Nick from our staff. And Fran, Tilsonburg. Wanda, Virginia. Maryland, Kelowna. And is that Milika in Stouffville? Margie, Kansas. And I can't see that one. Veronica. Diane, LaSalle. And Chantal, how are you? From Sudbury. And see, I missed it. Oh, or was that? I don't know. Sidvet, how are you? Brahim saying he's loving our cortisol formula. Yeah. Faye, Nancy. Why do I miss you, Nancy, all the time? I don't know. Douglas, Michigan. Ronald, Washington State. Diane, Thunder Bay. Sharon, Kansas. Sue, how are you, Sue? Francis from Vaughan. Mary. Dale. Okay. And Dave, I think. Wendy, how are you? Donna, Bell Valley. Couple more guys. Bonnie said I missed her. I hate to miss you guys. There's Carolyn in Edmonton. Janice. Joni, who's in Facebook jail again? I missed that. And someone from Tilsonburg, I missed that. Sandra, Dave, Muskoka, Donna, how are you? Lots of Donnas. And Nina, I think. Robin, Connecticut. Pat, how are you this morning? We love our family, guys, and I'm missing some. They go up in the clouds. I can't see it. Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Rita with Sega. And Sandy says I missed her too. Nancy, I know I miss a lot of you guys. Okay, let's get, Bonnie, how are you? Let's get back to questions here. I got a little, a pretty interesting study that came out. And if I have time today, I'll do it. If not, we'll do it on the next program, okay? Now, okay, Tina is asking a question. I have a question. I had a problem with swollen legs and feet since she was 14. Okay, it's gotten worse the last 20 years. Well, look, Tina, okay, when it's chronic, my diagnosis, based on just what you're telling me, okay, I would think, it's always a process of elimination. And I don't have all your history. I don't have any of that. But if you've had this since you're a little girl, 14 years old, you got chronic venous insufficiency, almost for sure. Because the other things that cause edema, cause swollen ankles and swollen feet, okay? Not painful, okay? Usually they're not. You either got congestive heart failure, and if that was the case, Tina, you'd be dead already, okay? You don't get that you can have congestive heart failure for quite a few years. You can survive, but you're not doing well because your heart is weak, doesn't have the power to pump like it should. And they call that congestive heart failure, okay? You don't have that, almost for sure, okay? You'd have the diagnosis already, and you wouldn't be asking me any questions. Or you might ask me, Doc, what do I do for congestive heart failure? Okay? So, number one, I can almost guarantee you have venous insufficiency. Your blood vessels, your veins, they just don't, they have little pumps. And I don't know if you're doing this already. I would think you are. Again, Tina, you're probably, if you're not, you should be, I think, using compression socks. Okay, because that's usually what is recommended for that. I like Navitol too because it does help with the veins. It helps with nitric oxide. The other things, chronic lung disease can give you that. And the other thing, too, that I found when I was in practice, this could happen to people that didn't eat enough protein. Now, protein is king of the castle. And carbs are the dirty rascals, okay? And a lot of people, they get venous insufficiency or whatever, and if you can link it back to the amount of protein, they just never eat enough protein. Now, I don't know any of that in you, Tina, okay? I'm just giving you ideas because you asked the question. Very good question, and thank you. If you want more, if you give me more information, I could probably give you I could laser focus in on what the issue is, okay? Deborah, I have heard that we should not jump on a rebounder if we have low EGFR. Wait, look, here's what she's saying, okay? Deborah is saying, I heard that if you got chronic kidney disease, you shouldn't be on a rebounder. I would tell you it's just the opposite, Deborah. A rebounder is so good for you, okay? It is good for you. It's good for your lymphatics especially. And it's a tremendous for your blood supply. And even Tina, you do well or better with a rebounder. I love rebounders, okay? I do. I think they're very good for you. And kidney disease, why? I mean, jumping up and down is going to bother your kidneys? Nah, it's blood supply. Make your kidneys work even better. Kidneys, H2O, Niagara Falls, water, and blood supply. That's why diabetics have so much trouble with their kidneys. Because sugar destroys blood vessels, capillaries, into the kidneys, into the eyes. Okay, thank you for the question, Deborah. I would say to you that it's the opposite of what you heard, okay? It's the opposite of what you heard. Okay, Brenda, excuse me. How does swimming in a chlorinated pool for exercise every day affect the thyroid's health? Well, look, chlorine, okay, chlorine can affect the absorption of iodine, okay? But, here's the but. The benefits of you swimming every day, okay? Even in a chlorinated pool, right? Make sure you wash off properly. And, be better if you could go out into the ocean and have a swim every day, but come on. The fact that you're swimming as an exercise, you know me and vitamin E. The real vitamin E is exercise. I'm big on it. Sun, steak, and steel. A lot of people don't even know what steel is in my book. Okay? I'm big on getting strong. And swimming is excellent. It really is. Okay? Swimming is excellent. Chlorinated pool, yeah, probably, You might have to take a little bit more iodine. But the benefits of that swimming are incredible. So I always look at the big picture. What's better? Okay? Okay. That was Brenda. Karen. My husband has an enlarged prostate. Okay, join the crowd of millions of men with an elevated PSA. Okay? Now, I don't like, let me rephrase it. I'm not fond of the PSA test when it comes to cancer of the prostate because it was never meant for that. And far too many men, in my opinion, have had biopsies and things like that and invasive procedures in their prostate when they really didn't need that. Because they took the PSA test, okay, prostate stimulating antigen, and made it the cat's meow, everything prostate. And I've never been big on that because it was never meant for that. Even the creator of that test said, what are you using it for cancer for? It's meant as a marker of inflammation, swelling of the prostate. It's not a marker for cancer. Anyways, I don't even think for 1 minute I'm ever going to be able to change mainstream medicine's mind. They're not listening, first of all. And second of all, I'm not aiming at them. I'm aiming at my audience. Anyways, so your husband has an inflamed prostate. After the age of 50, it is not uncommon. As a matter of fact, it's rare. And the reason is testosterone is going down and the womanly hormone is going up, estrogen. Estrogen makes things grow. Okay? Estrogen is a growth hormone. Now, combine that with another growth hormone. And this is what I usually find in men. Estrogen's going up, testosterone is sinking like the Titanic, and insulin is going up. Insulin resistance is going up. Insulin is another growth hormone. Okay? So, Karen says, my husband has an enlarged prostate with elevated PSA. Can he take testosterone supplements with this? Well, yeah, he could. Okay? You can elevate your testosterone in men. Get strong. Sun, steak, and the best way to elevate testosterone is the sun, steak, and I mean it, and steel. Get strong. Okay? You want to take a testosterone booster? I have a lot of men. I had a lot of men taking DIM to block the extra estrogen in their lives and shrinking. But sun, vitamin D, steak, and steel will elevate your testosterone. Okay? It does. It does. Okay. Thank you, Karen. I think I answered all of that. Okay, Mark. I just started with an endocrinologist after I made it clear that metformin, excuse me, metformin and statin drugs were a no-go. Okay. She put me on Ozempic and ezetimibe. Ezetimibe. How do you say that? Ezetimibe. Who cares? No, I know what it is. And you've been put on, okay? So let me, because you're asking a question, then I'll come back. She says it's not a statin. No, it's not a statin. These are designer drugs, Ozempic, and I call them designer drugs, okay? They're meant for diabetes. So, Mark, are you a diabetic? I think so. You didn't tell me that in here, okay? But you didn't want metformin, but she gave you another form of a medication called GLP-1s. And they're using them as designer drugs today for weight loss. They really were diabetic drugs. Okay? And the side effects are legion. Lots. And I'm not telling you not to take it, Mark. Of course I'm not. You didn't want a statin drug, but it's not a statin. It had nothing to do with that. It didn't give you that to lower your cholesterol. A statin drug will lower your LDL cholesterol. They gave you that to get your blood sugars under control. So I need more information, Mark. Like, it's not for, and now they're using it for weight loss. Like people that are not even diabetic. It started out in Hollywood, and then it's spread to the population to the point it's even hard getting these medications. They're so popular, and I'm not fond of them because it's not getting at the root problem. And Mark, without knowing 100%, if you're a diabetic, you have an allergy. And no amount of insulin, no amount of Ozempic, no amount of Wegovy, no amount of Ozempic, whatever it is, you're going to fix that. It's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid. I'm not telling you not to put a Band-Aid on, but you're not getting at the root problem. The root problem, Mark, is you and carbs don't get along. You have an allergy to carbohydrates. That's diabetes. That's what they used to call sugar diabetes. 1968. What a year. My dad became a diabetic. And he told me, son, it's sugar diabetes. What an education I got as a young boy. How old was I? 1968. 16? Yep. Son, it's sugar. And I watched my dad eliminate sugar from his diet, 100%. No more sugar. That was in 1968. Then I go to school. Then I take over 2,000 hours of nutrition. And you know what they're teaching me? Fat is bad. Diabetics need to eat in moderation. Moderation. I was educated before I went to school, and I knew that was wrong. I knew it wasn't right from the get-go. I said, that ain't right. How do I know? Because my daddy told me so. And I watched him get in shape, exercise, jogging. He invented jogging. I always told my dad that. You invented jogging. There was no jogging. You ran in 1968 when the police were chasing you. Or you were in a race, but you didn't go jogging. My dad did. I don't know how he ever came to that. Let's go for a run. And I started running with him when I was 16 years old. They didn't call me Tony Jr. for nothing. Now I'm Tony Sr. and my son's Tony Jr. Don't try and figure that out. Okay, guys. Thank you for the questions. Chelsea, any information or anything to help get rid of plantar's warts? Well, you might get some answers up here, Chelsea. One of the ways that I found to be effective was oil of oregano. It's just such a good, put it right on the plantar's wart, scrape down to eternity. And I found that to be an effective solution, plantar's warts. Okay. Maria. Since we changed our eating, did the reset, my husband's platelet count is dropping. Why would this be? Has nothing to do with your eating. It's a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. If your platelets are dropping, you need to check that big time, obviously, right? Your platelets going up or your platelets going way down. I mean, that can be a big problem. And I don't want to be an alarmist, but it's not normal, okay? And eating, you've gone to the reset, EMC, eggs, meat, and cheese. It would have nothing to do with your platelets dropping unless they were too high to start off with, and they're just bringing them back to normal. I mean, all eating to some extent will affect your blood. But I say it's more of a coincidence because anything that, my platelets. Well, if your platelets were crazy high, that's not good in the first place. And they came back to normal. Well, okay, you could give some benefit. Like food has an effect on everything, but it's not per se going to change your platelet count. Certainly not in the short term. So I need more information, Maria. Okay? Why would this be? It had nothing to do with EMC. Okay? Eggs, meat, and cheese. And I think I answered Rick's the other day. My MRI revealed I have aortic calcification. I think I did answer that, didn't I? And I wanted to give you Rick, because I looked this up. I think I mentioned this the other day. Okay? Where has all the calcium gone? I'm not supposed to sing. I forgot. Okay? The problem with atherosclerosis. So Rick is talking about aortic calcification. Okay? They did an MRI and they saw that Rick has calcification of his aortic artery. Okay? And by the way, Rick, a lot of people are walking around and they have calcification. They have no idea it's there because it's silent. Might not even be elevating blood pressure. You wouldn't have any idea if you hadn't got an MRI. How many people have found out they have carotid artery calcification? And they had no idea until they got a scan. And now they have the calcium imaging that you can get done. And a lot of times, again, people are going around, they have atherosclerosis and they have no symptoms of it. Now, aortic calcification, okay, atherosclerosis of the aorta is, obviously, it can be serious, especially if it starts calcifying near your coronary arteries. And I spent a long time on these, and I'm going to give you, Rick, if you want to take these down as notes if you're listening, hold on. Okay? If you take podcast number, like these are recent, 1369, 1365, 1364, and then I go way back to podcast 343 and 342. I mean, obviously, I've talked about atherosclerosis a lot, but I went into some real detail, especially in 1369, 1365, and 1364, where I did a teaching on how you get calcification like that. Okay? So, let me see if I have some notes on here recently. Okay, let me just see if I have something real quick. So we talked about vitamin K2. Really important to put calcium in its place. Okay? And let me see. If I got my notes, I can find it quickly. If not, we'll just talk off the top of my head. Yeah, okay. I'm not going to... Where is all the calcium? Anyway, I know they're in my notes there and I can take them out. But if you get to those podcasts, I talked about, okay, calcium channel blockers. What's the main blocker of calcium getting into your cells and then sclerosing your blood vessels? Magnesium. It's a calcium channel blocker. Okay? Vitamin K2. You see, God put calcium in eggs, in meat, and cheese with vitamin K2. Because calcium is good for you if it ends up in the right place. You want calcium to be in your bones, not in your blood vessels. I mean, you got a little bit of calcium in your blood vessel, but you don't want it sitting there. Your blood vessels is a no parking zone for calcium. When you take a calcium supplement, it doesn't get to its intended destination. So when you eat calcium, the way you're supposed to eat calcium, dairy, that's why I don't want people eliminating dairy. I don't like that. I don't. I want you to switch dairy because I'm big on dairy. Dairy has so many benefits. And I know the world out there, dairy, bad, dairy, this, dairy, that. I don't like that because they don't know what they're talking about. It bothers me. It's not science. It's a religion. Get rid of animal products, including dairy. It's insanity, folks. Dairy's good because in nature, and I'm not talking about milk unless you have a cow in the backyard, because they denatured that. Man thinks they're smart. Oh, I'm smarter than God. So what are we going to do? Let's take the fat out of milk because fat makes you fat. So you go to the grocery store and you get fat-free. How stupid is that? When you take the fat out of milk, you got a sugary drink. You might as well have, and that's why I call milk white Pepsi. Full of sugar. Why do you think people have so much trouble with dairy? There's way too much lactose. And there's way too much sugar in the grocery store milk. Okay? Anyway, you need fat in dairy. It's the fat in dairy that's got the vitamin K2. Okay? So magnesium is a calcium channel blocker. Vitamin K2 mops up, sweeps up calcium and puts it where it belongs. That's why we put vitamin K2 in our vitamin D. Excuse me. Okay. Any questions? Okay, guys. We love you, and we'll talk to you soon.